Alright, we got a little sun coming up. You can see a little kind of between the branches or something. Yeah, oh, there it is. Well, better to see the text and not me. It's warming up. Problems from head to tail. We're talking about the whale and how it came along after land animals matured to a certain extent through the evolutionary imagination. And then some animal, the hippopotamus or some animal, converted back to a sea mammal from a land mammal. Well, now one of the world's, we're here at BibleStudyManuals.net, K94.htm. Problems from head to tail. Now, Gould is a noted evolutionist from Harvard who claims the long and slim Basilosaurus as the standard and best-known early whale. However, evolutionist Barbara J. Stahl states, the serpentine form of the body and the peculiar serrated cheek teeth made it plain that these Archaeocetes, i.e. Basilosaurus, wow, and related creatures could not possibly have been ancestral to any of the modern whales. Today there are two major groups of cetaceans, the baleen whales, called the Mysticeti, with double blowholes, and the toothed whales, Odontoceti, with a singular blowhole. Why not just call them toothed whales, you know? Stahl presents irritating morphological facts, such as the structure of the skull and the Odontoceti and the Mysticeti forms show a strange modification not present, even in a rudimentary way, in Basilosaurus and its similar relatives. She also describes sperm whales, Odontoceti, which have an asymmetric arrangement of bones that for the skull, while Mysticeans have a symmetrical arrangement. None of the suggested whales' terrestrial ancestors, ungulates or carnivores, have a vertical tail movement. However, whales and an alleged link, Ambulocetus, do have a spinal up and down undulation. When did this happen? Where are all the fossils documenting how the side-to-side movement of the land mammals' tails changed to the down and up movement of Ambulocetus and the whales? This is quite significant. The land ancestor of the whale would have to gradually eliminate its pelvis, replacing it with a very different skeletal structure and associated musculature that would support a massive flat tail with flukes. Pure undirected chance would have to simultaneously produce these horizontal tail flukes independently, diminish the pelvis, and allow the deformed land creature to continue to live and even flourish in the sea. In the intermediate life forms that they propose as a tail, they may not have survived, and so we don't have the whale. These things are unique to the whale, not seen as a transitory organ difference or physiological difference. At the 1997 keynote lecture of Darwin Day at the University of Tennessee, Douglas Futama stated that the molecular revolution in biology has furnished us with mountains of information that not only attests to the history of evolution, but also sheds even more light on evolutionary processes. A far different evaluation was given the same year by three evolutionary biologists who stated, even with the appropriate genes, the molecular tree of life is difficult to interpret. Few systematicists, biologists who study taxonomy and are involved in reconstructional phylogenetic or evolutionary history would say that morphological patterns of form line up with the molecular evidence. Made a little bit larger here. Regarding the supposed relationship between terrestrial and aquatic mammals, one publication reported, these results reveal a large discordance between morphological and molecular measures of similarity. Rats and mice are classified in the same family, while cows and whales are classified in different orders. Perhaps molecular sequences are not necessarily giving us an accurate picture of ancestry. Similarity doesn't prove identity or ancestry. Zoologist John Gatsey reports competing interpretations of whale origins using phylogenetic analyses of blood-clotting protein gene from cetaceans and artiodactyls, pigs, hippopotamuses, ruminants, and camels, perissodactyls, rhinos and horses, and carnivores. He says that in combination with published DNA sequences, the data of this clotting protein unambiguously support a hippo whale clad and are inconsistent with a paleontological perspective. The evidence keeps pointing to individual unique designs that have certain characteristics that are similar to other unique designs just for functionality, not because they're in a line of ancestry. Ever since Darwin, we have seen that neither natural selection nor random mutations could possibly serve as remotely significant mechanisms of change that would turn terrestrial tetrapods into whales. Molecular biology, physiology, and morphology present impenetrable roadblocks for tracing a common ancestry from tetrapods to Archaeocetes to modern whales. We have a number of books that we've looked for, used as references. You can look at these up. We'll move on to the next page. Prehistoric man discoveries supported design and orchestrated creation, not evolution. We quote prehistoric and put it in quotes. Marvin L. Lubino states, in Bones of Contention, a must book, creationist assessment of human fossils. Approximately 4,000 fossil hominid individuals have been discovered as of 1969 to 1976. This is a surprisingly large amount of evidence dealing with human origins. The period since that time has seen that the most intensive and successful search for hominid fossils in the history of paleontology, paleoanthropology. Much of this fossil material is only thousands of years old. Going back in time, the amount of fossil material drops off significantly. Evolutionists say that because evolutionary change occurs so slowly, the older fossils are more significant, and these are the ones that are in short supply. Yet, it is the more recent fossils that effectively falsify the concept of human evolution, specifically recent Homo erectus, our alleged evolutionary ancestor, who may have been alive and well just a few hundred years ago. We'll look at the Cossack skull, which we'll look into later. When a worker in this field of paleoanthropology speaks of the scarcity of the human fossils, he is actually saying, although there is an abundance of hominid fossils, the bulk of them are either too modern to help me or they do not fit well into the evolutionary scheme. Marvin L. Lubinow. Evolution always deals with populations, the collective gene pool. So when we ask why Lucy, a supposed small, erect, chimp-like animal, which is purported to have evolved into man, isn't here today, we're asking why there are no small, erect, chimp-like animals living today that are like Lucy. And the evolutionist's answer is, Lucy isn't here because we are here. Well, that's not the case, because in many cases, like chimpanzees, from whom we are supposedly evolved, they're still here. And it just goes for so many animals in the animal kingdom. Since contemporary evolutionists are committed to the idea that a population of chimp-like animals known collectively as Lucy, and it's called Australopithecus afarensis from Africa, from Australia, evolved into us. Therefore, there cannot be any Lucys. But there are other chimps, Whether they hold to the slow and gradual view of evolution, which is phyletic gradualism, or to the newer model of long periods of stability and short bursts of rapid evolutionary change, which they call punctuated equilibria, the result is the same. Why isn't Lucy here? Because we are. Why isn't Homo erectus here today? The answer is the same, because we are. From Lucy, it involved that long trail of 3 million years and 5 million mutational events, but here we are. And nothing in between. W. Howells, Harvard University, explains how the process takes place in each of the two evolutionary models. In phyletic gradualism, change is viewed as gradual and general over the species. In punctuated equilibria, the apparent discontinuity seen so often in paleontological succession is not simply the artifact of a gap in the record, but it is real. The process of change is not species-wide, but results from allopatric isolated speciation in some other place. The bigger the word, the more the mystery, the more the story. A subspecies, ideally a peripheral isolate of the old species, becomes the new form in some significant respect and replaces whole populations of the old by migration. So they walked away. Oh, okay, let's go someplace else. Thus, the main body of the species does not undergo the gradual change to a new species. You don't find anything, there's an answer for that. Usually you don't have a good line. William W. Howells, Homo erectus in Human Descent, Ideas and Problems. He wrote a number of papers there, University of Toronto. In the gradual model, the entire Lucy population would change into Homo habilis, and that entire population would gradually change into Homo erectus. The Homo erectus population would gradually change into archaic Homo sapiens, and they eventually into us. Should there be some isolated groups or individuals along the way who did not inherit those superior mutated genes, they would eventually die out because they would not be less fit to survive in a very competitive environment. So why are the chimps and the apes still here? Well, maybe the apes are getting a little bit low in numbers. In the newer punctuated equilibrium model, a small portion of the Lucy population, probably on the edge of the species range, obtains some favorable mutations. This small advanced Lucy population, to use Howells' words, replaces population of the old species by migration. This replacement of the older population is accomplished by their death, since they are less fit, and the advanced Lucy population represents the more fit. This process takes place again and again through Homo habilis, Homo erectus, archaic Homo sapiens, and on up to modern humans. These two models have their differences. However, in both cases, the time element, about 3 million years, is the same. The total number of mutational events needed to bring about these changes, approximately 5 million, is the same. And in each case, those individuals who did not take part in that evolutionary process must be eliminated through death. In the evolutionary process, the less fit must die as the more fit survive. I don't know why that's always the case. Why not a little bit overlapping? The more fit survive because they are better able to compete for the limited food supply, and they reproduce in greater numbers. In other words, in both models, for species A to evolve into species B, species A must precede species B in time. Furthermore, after species A has evolved into species B, any species A remnants must soon die. It is thus basic to evolution that if species B evolved from species A, that species A and species B cannot coexist for an extended length of time. Guys, if we don't have the chimps and the apes then, or the orangutans, enough time has gone by, right? The survival of the fittest has a flip side. It is the death of the less fit. For evolution to proceed, it is as essential that the less fit die as it is that the more fit survive. If the unfit survived indefinitely, they would continue to infect the fit with their less fit genes. The result is that the more fit genes would be diluted and compromised by the less fit genes, and evolution could not take place. The concept of evolution demands death. More on this later.